Basically, I do charity bike rides in memory of my daughter, Mandy, who we tragically lost in November 2002. She died in a road traffic accident. Uh, this year's bike ride came along because of the summer riots that we had last year, and the youth in general throughout the country got a slating in the press and everybody was slagging them off. To me, they're not all bad. It's just a minority that's bad, and the majority get forgotten about. So I did a bike ride last year for a children's charity because my daughter would have been 30 last year, and it was in memory of her 30th birthday, just to keep her memory alive, really. And it was a tribute to her. And I sort of enjoyed it. It was brilliant. It was a 100-mile bike ride. I'd never done 100 miles before, and I enjoyed it, and it was good fun. And I raised 1,200 quid for Action Medical Research. So this year I wanted to do something else. It would be the 10th anniversary of her dying, and I wanted to involve the youth as well. And then I just asked a question about we need to find a charity to raise for and a target. I had a figure of about 1,000 quid again in my head, and somebody said 5 grand. I don't know who it was, but I thought that's a lot of money to raise.
We got involved with David Speed, with the Eufy group, with David Speed's Speed to Skegness, and the Eufy group, who did most of the work, particularly James, who did the cycling with David, achieved an awful lot. The whole of the group, in my opinion, achieved an awful lot because we were the support mechanism behind what David was trying to achieve.
Yeah, Dave's daughter Mandy was killed in a car crash in 2002. And he wanted to do it. He's done it before, a cycle ride to Skegness, and he wanted to do it a lot in her memory as well as raising money for Help the Heroes.
It was the youth that chose Help for Heroes, which I thought were brilliant anyhow, coming from youngsters to think wounded service personnel and things like that. So I were up for it, and then I thought, how are we going to raise 5,000 quid?
We encouraged David that he should try lots of things to raise the money for his event, for his bike ride, for Help for Heroes. And one event we helped to put the school with Eufy group. The old ones had the legs shaved and they were sponsored. We did market stalls down in Eckington, tombola stalls which raised a lot of money, and we also did a raffle at the co-op. And it raised again sponsorship money, which obviously went to a good cause.
Plus all local shops around here had all collection boxes in, so they've all mounted up.
Monday Club from Eckington, they donated caravans at Butlin, so we didn't have to pay for accommodation, so that saved a fortune. And we had Chesterfield Community Transport, they donated a minibus full of fuel for the weekend, along with the driver. Eckington School, they donated a minibus full of fuel for the weekend. So it was a community event, really, and from just a silly idea, I thought. But we set off from Eckington Youth Club at 8 o'clock, and we got in Skegness at 7:30 at night on the Saturday. On the Sunday, I set off back at 8, and I was back at Eckington for just turned 3 o'clock.
Particularly James felt really proud that he'd managed to do it. I don't think he thought he could do it on a borrowed bike, along with spare bits and pieces that people had lent him to a long way. And his own words with David were a big support to him, encouraging him all the way to achieve his goal.
Ended up doing it on a mountain bike. I haven't a clue why. It was the only bike I could get hold of at the beginning of it, and that was probably about 2 weeks before we actually had the event. Back in the day when it first came up, I thought I might do a couple of stints or a couple of little bits here and there, but the more I did it, I started doing a bit more exercise. I thought I'd quite like to have a go at the whole run, not realising what I was getting myself into at all until I started going out on a bike and not even know how to ride it properly till on the day, and then David told me, and it was the gruelest, horriblest thing ever, but I'm so glad I did it as well. I think it was just the achievement of being able to say that I've rode to Skegness, like not many people can say that, and everyone says it's flat here, it's easy flat. When you get on a bike, there is no such thing as a flat, because as soon as you go downhill, you know you've got to go back up, and you just don't want to do it at all.
It was great, yeah. Spent quite a lot of time waiting for them to catch up a lot of the time, but it was quite a spectacle when they rode into different stops that we'd been there for a couple of 3 hours collecting money. When they rode in, it was quite a lot of cheering.
I actually took my father, who doesn't belong to Eckington, and he thoroughly enjoyed the event itself. He does actually belong to a Lincolnshire British Legion group, and he got involved in as much that he was sort of raising the profile a little bit, and he really appreciated getting involved.
My name's Fred Richardson. I'm from Gainesville, Lincolnshire. I joined the TA when I was 17, and the year after the war broke out, we got called up and we went on the coast with searchlights and guns all along the northeast coast, and then they all finished up in the Orkney Islands. I think we went there guarding the fleet. I've been a member of the British Legion for over 50 years. I've been chairman for 35 years up to last year. I'm vice chairman now. I've done a lot of work over the years for the Legion, helping the forces, ex-servicemen out, getting them wheelchairs and convalescent holidays and all that, you know. And I've been going around the homes, visiting the ex-servicemen and women, give them a bit of chocolate, or if they're allowed to smoke. All that expense comes out their poppy appeal. And I would just like to wish the cyclists all the best for what they're doing for helping the heroes.
He's 92, by the way.
My eyes, like one of the charities I'd like to always raise money for is Help for Heroes, and I always thought along the way that I've got to finish it, I've got to do it, because if I don't, I'll not only be letting myself down, I'll be letting the charity down, because people are sponsoring me to get it done, and I didn't want to let them down to give money for the charity, so I made sure I definitely got it done, which helped me along.
Mandy was, how can I put it? She was quite a vulnerable girl in a way, weren't she? When she was younger. And as she got older, she went on to be a nursery nurse. And then from being a nursery nurse, she went on to work in customer services at Sheffield Interchange. And there she had to deal with a lot of problems. Problem kids, drugs, all stuff like that. 'Cause she were actually on the floor. And she used to be really good with them, didn't she? She used to be able to help them really well, get them off instead of having to phone in police and stuff like that. And I think that this is where I think some of it comes from, because she was good with youth, and you thought about that, hadn't you, as well? She was a very happy-go-lucky person, weren't she? She did everything. Bought t-shirt, bought video.
Yes, packed everything into a very short life.
Yeah, she did, yeah, very short, didn't she? But she'd have been very proud of David for doing this. Really proud of him, which I am. I'm very proud. And he's just thinking about next year, and I'm thinking about all this hard work we're going to have to put in again. It sounds on it now, we've started it rolling.
I think what we'd both like to say is congratulations to both David and James on their achievements, and I think we're all looking forward to next year's event, and I think it's in pipeline, according to David anyway. And of course the total race so far is just over £6,000.
The ride was absolutely brilliant. The ride back was better than the ride going, but the ride going was better for other reasons, and that was because James managed to do that ride for the first time, so I thought that was brilliant.
Loads of support from friends and family, but the biggest supporter of all had to be David. If it weren't for him along the way, I just couldn't have done it. He was by my side every single step. If he went off ahead of me, he'd wait at the top of the rail, he'd just always be there. And without him, I wouldn't even bother doing it.